All right, here it is. In this video, we bring it all together and we take a look at comparing all of these metrics to get some real insight into our audience and how our viewers are engaging with our video. Buckle up. Hey marketers, it's Nelson from Skylight Productions, and I'm very excited about this video series. I've said in the past, I think this is a great opportunity for us to go ahead and take a look at our old video content and our existing assets and see how they're performing, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and just make sure that those things are optimized. In the past, we've talked about setting up your video on a platform for success. We've talked about keywords, we've talked about tagging, we've talked about what are impressions metrics and what are the key metrics to look at when it comes to engagement, how important is view count. And now we're bringing it all together. If you missed a previous video, you can always go to skylightproductions.ca/video marketing tips and you'll find them all there. So now that we've defined what all these metrics are and what we're looking for in them, let's start to look at some various scenarios that you might see and what we can learn from those scenarios to optimize our video. So the first thing we're going to look at is your impressions versus your impressions click-through rate. Just to recap, an impression is when your video is seen but not viewed. This could be in a search, this could be as a suggested video, this could be in a social feed, but it doesn't count as a view. People haven't actually watched the video yet. The click-through rate is when they see this and they actually click on the thumbnail or the title or the link to actually watch the video. Looking at your impressions versus your impressions click-through is critical. If you have a high level of impressions but a low click-through rate, there might be a problem with a thumbnail, might be a problem with the title. Something in there isn't jiving with people wanting to click on your video. So this is where we can do a little bit of experimenting. It's pretty easy to swap out thumbnails, to swap out titles, maybe even try a few different keywords in there to just see what happens with those metrics. If you are finding that your click-through rate is quite low, try swapping out that thumbnail, increasing the size of the text, finding a different image, something on there that might just grab people's attention a bit more and they'll click through. It might also be that your videos are showing up in the wrong search. Maybe we've just tagged it wrong. Maybe it's actually performing really, really well, but it's the wrong audience. And so when they see the thumbnail or they see the title, it's not really what they were looking for, and so they're not clicking on it. This is where, if you're on YouTube particularly, you can take a look at the traffic source and see what are the search terms that people are using in which your video is popping up. If they're not really in line with what your video is about, then I think we might have a tagging issue. We might have used the wrong keywords, and so we can experiment there again and try some different things. The other possibility is you have a very low level of impressions, but a high click-through rate. What this usually indicates is that we might, again, have a bit of a tagging or keyword issue, but the people that are finding that video are actually drawn to it. So we don't really want to mess with the thumbnail. We might not even want to mess with the title, perhaps, but there's something about that video that is just not showing up in the right searches. So again, take a look at your traffic source, look at what those keywords are, where your video is showing up when people are searching, and maybe it's just the fact that we've got the wrong keywords in there. Maybe the fact that we've got the wrong tags. So we might want to, again, do some experimenting there. Try not to touch maybe the thumbnail and think about not touching the title, but maybe some of those tags, maybe the description, something where we're going to try to get it in the right search category, because once people are seeing it, then they are clicking through and they're attracted to it. The other thing is, if you're in a very small industry or a niche market, your impressions might be quite low because there just might not be a lot of people searching for your content, and that's okay. If you have a high click-through rate and a high engagement rate and you're in that smaller industry, that's fine. You're doing okay. Just keep on going. The next thing we want to compare is impressions click-through rate and engagement. If you have a high click-through rate and low engagement, meaning people are clicking on the thumbnail and going through to watch your video, but they're dropping off pretty quickly and not watching it all the way through, that means we're not retaining that audience. So what this might mean is maybe the content is uninteresting. Maybe we can learn from that in the future and create new content or re-edit this content so it actually is a bit more engaging for people. That could be a problem. The other thing is you might have a misleading title or a misleading thumbnail, and that's not great either, because it might be something that's very clickbaity, people are attracted to, but once they get there, they realize this isn't what it was advertised and they click away. And that's actually going to hurt you in the long run when it comes to ranking on any platform. Now, the opposite of that is you have a low click-through rate, but a high level of engagement, meaning, again, your impressions might be high, people aren't attracted enough to click through, but if they do, they're really into what they're seeing. So that means the content is great. That means that you're finding the audience and people are liking what they're seeing, but we've got maybe, again, a thumbnail issue, maybe it's a title issue, something in there that people aren't attracted enough to click through, but once they're there, they're loving what they're seeing. So this is where we want to be a little bit of scientists. We can experiment, try a different thumbnail, see if it works. Try a different title, see if that works. see what's going to help improve that click-through rate, because again, once you get people there, they're loving the content. If you have your video hosted on YouTube, and even if it's embedded on another site, but it's still hosted there, all that data is still being collected by YouTube. And so you can really drill down and see for each individual video and even in each individual search term, how are your impressions, your engagement based on those things. If you go to your YouTube Studio dashboard and go to advanced mode, you can get some really, really detailed metrics on what each user is doing. You can even get an idea of how people are engaging or what your impressions or your click-through rate is based on the device that people are using or the platform that they're viewing it on. You can even go in and take a look at what search terms people used to find your video based on their demographics, what country they're from, their age, their gender. It's a great way to take a look at what keywords are working, and even maybe some you haven't thought of that are still driving traffic, and these are things you can optimize for in the future. It also helps you see what the demographics of your audience are, so you can tailor your future creative towards that. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this series, and if you have any other questions or suggestions for other things you'd like to hear about, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and feel free to share this video in your network if you think there's someone else that might get some use out of it. In the meantime, stay safe, and all the best in the future.